Well, the warmest greetings to everyone. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel. Want to give you a hearty welcome this evening. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. As always, on Monday night, I'm joined by one of the most foremost hormone optimization experts in the world and a rising esoteric voice, Mr. Campbell. And tonight, of course, we're joined by a fellow that doesn't really need an introduction anywhere in these circles. The editor of the Unicus magazine, the Jedi journalist himself, the one, the only, Mr. Robert Stanley. Welcome to The Last Stand, Robert.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's our pleasure.
He's just missing his Obi-Wan outfit. I was so hoping that he would be wearing it.
It's in storage, guys. Sorry.
Not a lightsaber or anything, huh?
I know. It's pretty bad.
Oh, well, we'll have to get by. So we got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about tonight. Robert, what's new in your life since we last talked?
I'm in Palm Springs, California, as opposed to Hong Kong, which is, I thought would be a good thing. But the longer I'm here, I'm seeing that there's all kinds of issues being back in the U.S. Of course, I'm glad I'm not in the protest zone. Not that I would go. I'd probably be hiding under a rock somewhere as that's going on.
But the nice thing about it was that Jay and I got to sit down and break bread with you and meet you face to face. Know that you're not just a myth or legend. You are a true human being that walks in this plane. It was great to meet you and share some meals with you.
Yeah, that was nice meeting you guys in person. Finally.
Absolutely.
And Rex's clone.
And Rex's clone, yeah.
Yeah.
Faux Rex.
Faux Rex. Oh man, Robert, I have to ask you, man.
Yeah.
Of all the places to come back, he came back to the People's Republic of California to join me.
Yeah. Well, I was born here this lifetime, but it's not the same place. And it's like every day I wake up and find out there's some new regulation or weirdness that's happening here. And so part of me wants to get out again.
You know, it's funny you say that, Robert, because back in the 50s, maybe even into the early 60s, California was paradise, man. It was
really
perfect weather. The culture was, it was the epitome of, I think, what we all think of the American dream.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I mean, I didn't come into the world till late in 59. So, and I lived a privileged life there in Malibu. And yeah, it was pretty remote out there back in those days.
I'll bet.
Yeah. And it's changed a lot. So we can't go back. So we can only go forward, right?
Well, I mean, even for me, right? I came to California when I graduated from college in 1993. Well, actually, I came in 1994. I graduated in 1993, but it was still paradise. I mean, every kid at any university in North America that, dreamed bigger wanted to go west. It was that manifest destiny. And even when I got here, outside of the smog in the valleys in the mid 90s, it was still paradise. Yeah. It really changed, in my opinion, at the last decline, which was about 2009, 2010. And then they got really regulatory, for lack of a better word.
That's too bad. I had a really weird experience, and it got weirder. So I had a couple people chime in and say they've had it too. And I can't think of anybody better than Robert Stanley to bounce us off of. And then Jay will roll right into our topics. Robert, this crazy idea popped into my head and also popped into Greg Allison's head, the NASA contractor / worm grower, if you know who he is, that spoke at LeakCon. And it's this idea of at least we think we know that there's multiverses, what we call multiple timelines. And we think we know that they're kind of existing simultaneously. But what popped into my mind and Greg's mind and a couple other people's mind is that could they be like waves and they're moving and sometimes they overlap and we can actually be talking to somebody and they're in a different multiverse manifestation than we're in, even though we're kind of sharing the same space. And it's like if you ever talk to somebody, they just can't, it's like you're talking Swahili, even though you're speaking the same language. Or one day your spouse is just like, who is this person? And then all of a sudden it changes. What do you think about that whole idea? Multiple multiverse manifestations.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm glad you brought this up because I've been talking about it a lot on my show.
Oh, have you? I'm sorry, I haven't listened.
No, it's fine. It's a lot of people don't listen to my show.
Well, I listen sporadically. My big weakness is I'm too.
Oh, I know you're always
I spend too much time doing podcasts and studying for them. So
hey, Robert, by the way, did you just feel the earthquake? We just had an earthquake in Bear Valley about 4 minutes ago. Did you feel it?
No,
I didn't either.
Okay, yeah, but we've had hundreds of them out here. So the Earth is changing, and it's part of a multiverse, as you said. But this immediate region that we're in, this particular quadrant of this particular space-time continuum, has been hijacked by the by the Luciferians, and they overlaid what. So this is the whole concept we talk about: virtual reality, that we're all in some simulation. The simulation theory is very popular; it's out there right now. And what they're really talking about, I think, at this point, is that when the Anunnaki showed up, and I know that's a loaded term, but when they came here, they set a particular system in place. So there was already a cosmic divine matrix in place. It was part of the fabric of creation. I call it the web of light.
Right.
When the Anunnaki arrived, and they had already started their civil war in the heavens, so-called.
Right. When
they came here, they put in place this particular matrix, which is all based on time and a calendar. I mean, the calendar itself is a giant clock of the rotation of the planets within the solar system and the galaxy, etc. But it's all artificial. Right. I'm not just saying man-made. This was actually handed down to us by the gods as a dictate, and this was designed to control us and, more importantly, to disconnect us from the cosmos.
Right.
So it put us out of phase. And there was a particular gentleman from New Zealand, shaman. He calls himself Huna Kumara. That's his name. He's telling me that this has been going on, that the benevolent beings have been trying to put us back into alignment for some time, and they finally achieved that as of June 1st of this year. So what's happening is those who are still in the dark are unable to integrate with the new calendar system. If you want to see what I'm talking about, just go to my website at unicusmagazine.com, and you can see the presentation. And he explains it much better than I can. I'm just giving you a soundbite. But I do believe he's right. I'm feeling it. I'm seeing it. Most people are unaware of it now, but they will become more aware of it as time goes on. I mean, rapidly, people are going to become more aware of the fact that this is a whole different ballgame we're in right now.
So, Robert, to that, and the last couple of broadcasts that Jeff and I have had, which, by the way, Jeff, now 3 profound last stands in a row.
Absolutely.
To have these kind of guests, but both of them mentioned exactly what you said, but in different words, and that
really
the change, quote unquote, the shift that we're now going to be going through is going to be so rapid and so vast that many people who are, quote unquote, not where we're at and not technically prepared because, they live in their somnambulistic state, as our good friend John Baines would say, are going to have to deal with a, quote unquote, a harsher reality. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but it's a choice. It's based on a choice. And it's not really a punishment if you're choosing to stay in the dark when all this light is washing over the planet. I mean, this is really the difference.
Right.
This matrix, this Anunnaki Luciferian matrix that was imposed here disconnected us. So, and more importantly, they divided us, and we've been conquered ever since. However, the benevolent beings, our extended family off world, have been working behind the scenes to realign us, to reestablish, reconnect, and ultimately rehabilitate all of us and the planet. Because in my opinion, the planet would have died.
Yeah.
If they hadn't done that.
Yeah. I mean,
fascinating.
I would agree with that, Robert, because, and I've always said that all they want is war and death. And, that's all they did literally up until the end of the Persian Gulf War. And now obviously we've still had excursions here and there, but it seems like, let's look around in just the last 2 years. How many conflagrations have been stopped? We know that they tried to sink Pearl Harbor again, right? They tried to take down Honolulu with a nuke. It's been confirmed a million times, a million different places.
Yeah.
They're constantly doing things inside the Gulf to start a war with Iran, to get Israel to attack Iran and vice versa.
And Venezuela.
Yeah, Venezuela. I mean, there's so many places around the earth that the Anunnaki are playing their war games, but for some reason it doesn't escalate. And to me, that's proof of what you're saying, that there are benevolent, galactic, angelics, whatever you want. I don't want to go new age like Jeff and I and you experienced 2 weekends ago, but
and hopefully we can talk 2016 election too with off-world intervention as
well. Yeah, there has to be. I mean, but we already had Robert on the show and he confirmed that. I mean, what other ways were they? How did Trump win when we know that the voting mechanisms were rigged?
I'll give you my answer.
Go for it.
And I think that, and this, I get this mainly from Robert and a few other great sources, that there was a white hat intervention. Was it a off-world white hat intervention? Was it a military white hat intervention or something more terrestrial based? But I think the point that most people miss, and I'm going to step on some toes with this, were they truly white hats? I think so. Were they truly benevolent? I think so. And if they were, then all they could legally and judicially do is enforce what the will of the people really was. So, ergo, if we adopted the I'm never going to vote, vote's a waste, don't do it mentality, and we hadn't have gone and voted for Donald Trump, and if he hadn't won an electoral victory, then the white hats could not have enforced a Trump victory if it didn't exist, because they can't be a white hat and override the will of the people. So I think it was a twofold. We did it, but we did it with assistance from white hats who would not allow it to be stolen.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Well said, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Because I felt like I was out on a limb with that.
No, I think it was. Yeah, I think you were spot on.
Well, that's enough of that one then.
Okay, so Robert, I have to ask you.
Wait a minute, Jake. Let me just revel in it for 1 second. That was a high point of my life.
3 seconds.
Robert says you're right on.
2, 3. Okay.
Ooh, I still
like
owe you one.
Golf clap for Jeff. Golf clap.
When I had you guys on my show, you came up with this line. You said that Jay and I complete you.
That's right.
And my comeback should have been, you had me at hello. But I was so shocked when you said that. I'm like, huh? It's like, whoa. Anyways.
Well, Robert, you're the. I might even go so far as to say you're the world's foremost inky expert. We've been talking about this inky thing. Can we get into that now?
Yeah, no, for sure. I just wanted to ask Robert, though, if he thinks, because we asked the last two guys, and obviously both of them had different answers. Do you believe in the next 3 months, we are finally going to see names? When I say names, like actual people, part of the cabal, whether they're political figures or Hollywood entertainers or whatever, just famous people. Will we see people go down?
Yeah, but it's by their own hand. Yeah. See, because they're becoming increasingly desperate. This is what all the censorship is all about. They are desperate to retain control because they know that their system is being pushed down. The new system has been overlaid, because what they did is they came and they overlaid their BS on top of the divine.
Right.
And so Absolutely. Now it's just kind of flipped. The tables have flipped, and now the divine matrix is being reestablished, and it's overlaid. And because it's based on light and truth and love, these guys don't have anywhere to go. You know, the other thing I think I told you, I'm going to just tell your audience,
Please do.
Part of the bigger message is the leading Luciferian Anunnaki cabal agreed to leave, to step aside.
Right.
And I was told this, and at first I was very skeptical, but then I realized, you know what? It behooves them to do that because they're basically going to kill the planet, and they would have moved on anyway. And it's not like they only have this planet to deal with as far as part of their empire, but they realized that was a very good deal that was being offered to them. However, they didn't take all of their minions with them. That's the problem. You've got some stay behind network here that are increasingly becoming desperate and acting delusional, and they're like dangerous because they're trapped.
How long ago did they leave, Robert? Would you estimate?
That's a good question. I can't answer it. But
the reason I ask is because about 6 months to a year ago, I got the very distinct impression that this being that calls himself Yahweh had fled the planet.
Yeah, I guess. And some people say that's Enki.
Yeah. So it would fit right in with your theory that they've left.
Yeah, I suppose. And it's not my theory. It's what somebody told me. I can't
Exactly.
prove it. I can't prove it. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because there are some people that still believe Enki is our savior, our creator. And Jay and I came up on this, like, I don't know, I do see the hand of the benevolence. If you think of it as just shining light into the darkness and illuminating our minds, not the Illuminati, but
right.
You always see how when somebody's connected to the cosmos, they have this ray of light, what they call the glory of the Lord. That's a religious term you're probably familiar with, but it just means that you're plugged in like a light bulb. You screw it into the thing and, it radiates light. Well, the same is true with us. So what's happening is Jay was tapping into some illumination of things, and he was sharing with me, and it caused me to go to this place I never would have visited. And I looked at it, and this person in this blog is talking about Apple. We were talking about Apple Corporation and all the devices and how this was ultimately symbolic of the knowledge of good and evil coming to us in a digital format. But this particular blog I ended up on, as Jay and I were texting, I just punched in some things and boom, this came up. And it says here that basically Enki's going to solve all our problems. Because they buy into the Sitchin's narration, which is purely Luciferian public relations.
Yes.
And supposedly this is the dawn of the Aquarian age, according to the old calendar, what my friend Mauta calls the scope of horrors.
Right.
Wow.
The horror scope is,
right. The horoscope.
Which is an accurate way of describing it, because it's been nothing but horrific for all of us here. So anyway, they're saying the people who are Luciferians, a lot of them don't even know it. That technically would be called delusional, but they're serving, like I call them also pawns of the Archon, because they don't fully understand what they're doing. That's, I believe, the analogy when Christ allegedly was crucified. He said, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." He wasn't talking to Yahweh, if that really happened. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, there's a lot of information coming up that is going to expose everybody. Yes, names, but it's only because they are so committed to going down the path of the dark side that as the light increases, as the information flows more freely, and everybody's paying attention, because believe me, they are. They are really paying attention. All these people are going to reveal themselves. That's what the apocalypse means. Right?
The word apocalypse literally means unveiling.
Yeah. Right. And that's what we're living through.
Okay. So let me, so obviously, I agree with you guys, but let me just play devil's advocate just for a minute, because it's normally Jeff that does that. So I'll be the devil.
The happy contrarian. That's me.
That's cool.
So as we all know, and Robert, I know you guys see this too, because we talk about this all the time in our little groups and stuff, but 5G. Okay, last night I did an experiment, which you don't know about this yet, Robert, but Jeff does. My wife bought me a Garmin, fitness tracker yesterday for Father's Day. It's an amazing little gift. There he is.
That's my father right there. Thanks, Dad.
Amazing little gift, right?
Happy
and I'm standing in front of my computer last night wearing it, and I'm looking at my resting heart rate, and my resting heart rate is out of control. I'm like, what's going on? I'm listening to binaural beats. I'm totally relaxed. I'm even in a flow state. So I'm kind of like this, it doesn't work, right? Immediately it doesn't work. But then I go back to the bathroom, just stand there, go to the bathroom, and I look at my watch and it's dropped 30 points. My resting heart rate is 64. So I'm like, what? So I walk back and I, get back into my computer, back into the zone. 5 minutes later, I look and there it is again at 96, 98. So I'm like, what in the hell? So by the way, I'm just in front of an iMac right now. Same thing, nothing else in here, no Wi-Fi modems. I got all these, to get rid of the EMF interference. So then I go to the front of my office about 10 minutes later saying, this cannot be real. No light on in the front of my office. I sit down, totally relaxed instantly. And I say within 1 minute, my resting heart rate goes back to 63. So I'm like, okay, that's good. That's normal. So what in the hell is going on? So guys, I'm not kidding you. The technology that we are in front of is legitimately
toxic,
raising our heart rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what 5G is designed, so that we don't integrate or reintegrate with the cosmos. It's a desperate move on their part to try and keep us under their control.
So that's my devil's advocate. So do you think then, if what you're saying, and I agree, and I know Jeff is all about the golden age, is all of this going to crash
Yeah.
And then we go into it because clearly, as you said, this is what they're doing. This is the desperation. They're putting in all these ID procedures, real ID, 5G. Is that what's going to happen? It's just going to not make it?
Yeah, but I mean, look at how many ways they've tried to poison us or are.
Yeah.
They still are.
I know, but we're still, the point is, the reason I'm bringing it up is because we're still here. Somehow we're still functioning.
Can I devil advocate the devil advocate when you're done, Robert?
Please do.
No, you got to do that. I want to watch that.
So I agree with you. 5G, toxic. To Robert's point, all the stuff they're putting on is toxic, but yet we're still here. Do we have this innate ability to shift our phasing, to shift our frequency, to shift our modulation to a place where we cannot be penetrated? We're impermeable to whatever they throw at us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, again, I know it sounds overly simplistic and I've said it repeatedly, but some people still haven't got the message. Being calm, kind, creative, and courageous. Now, what it does.
Say that again, Robert. Okay. That is the answer.
Well, look, it's not my idea, guys. It
doesn't matter. It's still the answer. And you're the only one delivering it that I hear.
Okay. But see, that's why I asked my benevolent friends, our extended family off world. I asked them, so what do we do? Because I knew what they were saying. Look, in the future, in the very near future, and we're living through it right now, when these waves of energy are washing over the planet, it's going to cause everything to be revealed. And then everybody's going to have to make a decision as to which path do they want to go down, continue down the dark side or go to the light, come back home, basically.
Yeah.
And but in the meantime, I'm thinking, well, what can we do? And since they'd already answered a couple of my other very important questions, I said, how can I help other people in the meantime? And this was the thing that came to me, the antidote for archons. And I should probably send you the links just so you have it, because it's kind of buried on my website in the article section under Archon files. But here's what it says is
unicusmagazine.com.
Thanks. Here's the thing. Most of us that are doing this work are resonant.
Right.
Resonant. Okay. So it's harmonious. Our consciousness, our soul, our energy is harmonious. And that's resonant. Now, but when we go to the dark side, that's dissonant. And that all this crap about 5G and chemical pollution and all this nonsense is all dissonant. So the easiest way, it's not easy, I shouldn't say, but the simplest way to get reconnected to a resonant pattern, which you do that. Let's see, what was I saying? Okay, if you remember the old Ella Fitzgerald Memorex commercial, Ella Fitzgerald sings this high-pitched frequency and the glass shatters.
Yes.
Okay, so those are sympathetic vibrations. The glass is vibrating because of it's coming out of her. Well, the same is true for us. If we want to tune in to the cosmos, which is based on resonance, it's sustainable, it's good, all right? It's divine. So being calm when others are acting crazy, being kind when others are being cruel, and being creative when others are being destructive. And one more component that came to me recently, being courageous when other people are scared.
Being courageous enough to be those other three things in the face of all of what we're facing.
Well, that's probably the fourth one's the most important, because you're basically frozen if you can't, you're petrified to actually take any action, to even believe that you can do these things for yourself. And the thing is, it starts as an individual, because as soon as I started doing that, like I can give you an example. When I was
Deborah Clark says you are her favorite guest. I agree.
Oh, thanks you, Deborah. When you're around other people, even in the darkest situation, and you start to do that process, others around you feel it. You don't have to say, I'm being calm, kind of creative. No, it's not like that. If you just do it, if you make that choice and you start to feel yourself going there, and you create this resonant frequency around you, other people will feel it as well, and they will react in a way that it'll astonish you. It really will. So just try that.
I can't say anything to that except you're 100% right.
Well, again, it wasn't my idea. It was an answer to a question that I had, as how in the world are we going to cope with all this crap they keep throwing at us? I mean, yeah, we're surviving, but there's got to be something more to it than that.
Yeah. Robert, is it possible for fill in the blank of the villain, the Anunnaki, Satan, the devil, the ETs, is it possible for them to defeat pure love?
Well, no, because it's something completely different. I mean, darkness can look. Darkness is always expelled by light, and yeah, it can try and overshadow it. But the point is that there's just so much more light than there is darkness in the creation.
Right.
And they don't, because they lack creativity. It's a losing proposition, no matter what. It's unsustainable. And it's based on corruption and cruelty.
Ooh, that's interesting. They lack creativity, so it would seem to me, from a strategy level, if they lack creativity, if we will act in ways that they don't expect, they're very, very hard pressed to counter us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, everything is a manifestation of creation. But what? Okay. Remember, I told you this before. Everything is wave patterning. So consciousness, energy, matter are all waveforms at different frequencies. Like a drop of water is a solid, liquid, or a gas. I know I've said that before, but I'm just, for people who haven't heard me say this, manifestation of creation is coming from our consciousness. But where does consciousness come from? It has to, in my opinion, has to come from our soul.
Right. Divine.
And that is why I keep using that word divine. It's not a religious term, in my opinion. It's a definition of some aspect of who we are. Well, okay. So divine,
it's an adjective and a noun, isn't it?
I suppose. But we're getting back to what I just said before about creation or creativity is based on resonance. And those wave patterns actually amplify each other over time, as opposed to destroying. So like in music, you hear harmony. Well, that's beautiful. It touches you. It feels you could tingle, you hear a dissonant frequency if you introduce the wrong notes, or not wrong, but a dissonant note into harmony, it disrupts the whole pattern. It literally disrupts it. So it doesn't amplify. It detunes everything down.
And you notice it makes you cringe.
Yeah. Very uncomfortable. And ultimately, that's the path of destruction. That is the dark side. Yeah, it's powerful, but it has a very limited potential. Since you asked, it's not, if you who's going to win that contest? I mean, there is no contest, in my opinion.
I love it.
So let me just ask, amazing show, and we're getting great questions inside the group, you guys. We appreciate all you guys. Matt Belair is in the house. Did you see that, Jeff?
Matt, my brother, nice to see you.
So just the question, I think, from the very beginning, the first bullet point, and I know all three of us can go back and forth on this, but let's just
have a killer moth circling me, so I'm just getting ready.
Let's just put it in perspective, where we can define it as we kind of understand it to be now. Why is Yahweh / Enki / Jehovah / the Lord / a million other names that we could why is it so difficult, do you think, Robert, and of course Jeff, you can answer too, for people to not see him as anything but positive?
Great question.
Some people think he's a troublemaker or a trickster.
Well, we do, but the majority of people. Yeah,
especially with shows like Lucifer on, it used to be on Fox and now it's on Netflix.
Unbelievable, by the way.
It's total PR for Enki.
Can they promote him anymore?
Yeah, they can. Sure. Absolutely.
Robert, I have to say, in regard to that show, you've heard me, I don't know if you've heard me say it or not, but I call Yahweh the rat bastard. And I'm the only one that I've ever heard use that term. And guess what? Season 4, Lucifer says of his father, he's a rat bastard.
Yeah. Well, these guys in Hollywood don't have a whole lot of creativity, so they do listen to shows like this or read whatever blogs we put out there. I just call him Dad. Yeah. And I try not to be too derogatory about it, but a lot of times I say disparaging things about him because he does these crazy things. So.
And a lot of things you say happen to wind up in these random TV shows and things too, don't they?
Well, specifically that one with the connection to Malibu, and the season 4 was creepy to me, which I told you guys off the air, but I'll just, for everybody who's listening to this stuff, it absolutely freaked me out when the love interest who is living in Malibu, Chloe Decker. She's an LAPD officer, but she lives in Malibu, and her mom was a movie star and some crazy. Anyway, she'd done movies, and it's just so cozy, this whole Hollywood Luciferian stuff, and Malibu, where I'm from. And I'd said this publicly before the show aired. I mean, obviously somebody was listening in Hollywood, but she's saying in season 4 to this particular priest who I think they want to kill Lucifer and send him back to hell, this particular circle of Jesuit exorcists, whatever, I don't know. So she's telling me this, you don't even know him. You've never met him. He never lies. I'm like, wait a minute. Are we talking about the same guy here? And people who are especially younger, extremely impressionable, have no context for this. And they're just watching like, oh, it's just for laughs. But guess what? It's going into your subconscious.
Right.
If you have no context for that, it's just like, yeah, sure. I'll just drink the Kool-Aid.
But you say that, and you know what goes right into my mind? The original Exorcist, the father of lies. Remember? There's
yeah. Well,
so you're right. It's entrainment.
It is. But again, I see it as kind of a desperate act. You know, they can make all the movies and
great point.
I don't think it's going to really change the ultimate outcome. I mean, yes, it's going to trick some people. Some souls will be fooled into following him into wherever they go next. But it's very complicated now, because if the Anunnaki, if Lucifer, Enki, whatever, has moved out and left us to our own devices, it's possible that only those really hardcore Luciferians or Archon or whatever you want to call them, those minions are going to be, well, I don't know where they're going to end up. I'm sure they'll be given a chance. But this is one of the reasons I do these shows. I'm sure you guys are the same way. We only have a limited time left where we can actually use this technology to reach people, to kind of help them get oriented as to what the hell, literally, what the hell's going on here.
I'm honestly glad you just said that, Robert, because I say that too. And, Jeff is somewhat agree with me. Jeff is a little bit more Pollyanna than I am now, but you're definitely supporting
way more.
You're supporting me.
And John Cynical says, Dad, I think he might be quoting Lucifer, Dad made me go to church and drink his son's blood.
No.
That's good. That's beautiful.
Robert,
That's
what
true.
do you mean by what you just said? You just said something profound, and I don't want to echo over it. You just said this, we only have a limited time left. Can you define that for people that are watching right now?
Well, the technology has to be dismantled because it's so toxic.
Yes.
And also
yes,
because it's collapsing on itself. All this censorship they think is going to somehow buy them time. But in fact, what it's going to do is it's hastening their demise ultimately, because more and more of us are just saying, okay, I'm pulling the plug. I don't need you guys. I'll go out on the street. I'll talk to somebody, I'll write
novel
that's what we have to do, dude. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. Listen, I wrote that today in my newsletter. And I said, after what I recognized last night with the heart rate stuff, I said, look, if you do not know that this is what meaning the tech, is doing to our biological systems, you get what you deserve. And just to what you said, every single one of us needs to take breaks during the course of every single day, go outside, detach, turn it off, take off your Apple Watch, leave your phone behind, and go out and commune with Mother Nature. It's absolutely, if we don't do what you just said, Robert, we are fully enslaved. We have a choice.
Yeah. But see, again, that's the only reason I'm doing these shows, is to kind of help people understand the choice or choices that they can make. But it's pretty stark. It really is dark side or the light side of the force. So yeah, it's an interesting time we're in.
Why do people still continue to choose the dark?
Oh, okay. Well, there was in the news, and again, this is not the best analogy, and I'm repeating myself for people who know my work, but it's like this. People who've been in prison for too long, for a long period of their life, when they're let out, they just can't handle it. They feel like, what do they call it? Somebody call it the outside or the world.
No, it's called an institutional mindset.
Okay. But I'm just saying, okay, the prisoner, when they're let out, they call the outside something else. It's like the world, I think they call it. They can't handle it. They don't fit in. They don't feel comfortable. Right. And there was just in the news last week, there was
that old guy.
Yeah, the old guy was a bank robber. I can't handle it out here. I don't have enough money. And so he just did a little job, and then bam, he's right back into the slammer. And now he feels like, hey, I'm home.
It's like the movie Instinct with Cuba Gooding Jr., who is having his issues right now, and Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins opens the gate on this big, huge gorilla. There's a door he can run out and be free again. But the gorilla, 300-pound gorilla, he could easily escape, but he's cowering in the back of this cage, and he's been institutionalized. He's been in jail so long, and he's so full of Stockholm syndrome that he will not even walk out of the cage.
Right.
We're so powerful. And you say this, Robert, we're more powerful than we ever imagined.
Yeah. Well, especially when
Walk
we
out of
connect
the
to
cage.
well, especially when we reconnect with the cosmos. The web of light is amazing. It gives us all kinds of information and insight and love and light and just it is the force. That is the force, by the way. When
Yep.
we connect to that, there's we have an unlimited potential for creativity.
Absolutely. Is it okay for a Star Trek fan to connect to the Force?
Of course.
Okay, good.
As long as you don't violate the Prime Directive, yeah.
The Force and people, Star Wars is the Force. Star Trek is not the Force. So that was.
So Robert, when we
Yeah.
were talking about Apple, inside our group, Jeff and
Yeah.
I were asking some interesting questions, and Jeff proposed a good one, which is we know that technology for the most part is complete enslavement. Cabal, Anunnaki, dark forces, whatever. But is there white hat / light, the force, the good side, the light side, also embedded in technology sector that we're not aware of?
It's a good question. I would assume so, but I don't have any direct evidence of that. But now that you mention it, yeah, just like the other day when we're having this texting deal going on, yeah, it'll probably somehow, when I find the proof, I'll text it to you.
Well, there's got to be some
Well, it is duality world.
non-malevolent forces involved in high tech, right? I mean, but even if there's not, look at the good that we do with tech.
Right. But ultimately, none of this is necessary. We
Right.
should be able to use telepathy. I know that's kind of a loaded term,
That's
but
so good. Yeah.
remote viewing, telepathy, and all of those other as attributes, they're not superpowers. That's part of our divinity. And but again, you can't access it without connectivity.
Right. And you have to, I mean, we could be putting out in telepathy the answer to all the world's problems, but if nobody wants to listen, we're just
Hey,
we're
look,
putting
I'll give you
up
an example. I'll get a couple
bills
of
on trees in the middle of the forest.
when I was struggling with this whole thing about the Archon, I was putting it out there through telepathy. I was asking the benevolent beings that I feel like I'm in touch with.
Yep.
I said, I hit a wall here. I can't figure this out on my own. I'm so confused. Could you please give me clarity on this issue? And I let it go. And then gradually weird synchronicities started to happen. And man, they were so obvious. I just go, oh yeah, I did ask them for clarity. And I mean, even books that I'd read years before, multiple times, suddenly it was like I was reading it for the first time and there was a freaking answer there. And I'm like, oh my God, it's right in front of my face. Yeah. And then I had an epiphany one day in the shower because I could see, I was like, wait a second, I've seen pictures of these things. And so I hurried up, got out of the shower, ran down, got on my computer, started writing this article, putting the photos together. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I asked for. Now I can see it clearly and I can let everybody else see it clearly too. That was around 2011. I think it was 2011. But then after I wrote the article, I'm like, oh God, do I really want to be, the Archon buster? It's going to be, I'm going to like huge target on me. Do I really want to do that? And I said here's the deal. I said to them mentally, I said, look, if you want me to you've given me the answer. You want me to share the answer with everybody else, I'll do it. But you need to give me a sign that that's really what you want. And shortly after that, I got a call from Coast to Coast. And I think I told you this, so I'm going to just briefly run it by you. It was the producer. You probably know Lisa Lyons. Right?
Lisa Lyon, great girl. Great lady.
Yep. Yeah, I do like Lisa. She says, can you come on the show tonight? And they don't work like that, okay? Normally it's you.
I've been on 8 times and it's never been, can you come on tonight?
No, I've been over almost a dozen times now. That's the only time she called me and said, can you come on tonight? It's like, well, yeah, what's going on? And she said, well, George's dad died. And he's got of all things, he's got to get out of here tomorrow. We're scrambling to get everything together. And like, we don't have, I don't know why the hell they didn't have anybody booked for that night. Maybe it was going to be open lines. I don't know. Well, the bottom line is this. I said, she says, well, so I said, yeah, sure. Of course I'll help you out. She goes, well, what do you have? I'm like, okay, you just asked for it. Here, I'm going to send you the link. And she's really quiet. I go, you got it? She says, yeah, I'm looking at it. And And she, she's processing.
This is going on in my head. I've heard this conversation. It's hilarious.
So and then she said, we're going to do this. And I said, are you sure? Because we don't have to do this. And she's like, we're doing this. And I'm like, okay, fine. So that was as if I needed, somebody's got to hit me over the head with a hammer. That was the proof, or I should say the sign that I was looking for, that they.
And Lisa Lyon is not an easy sell by any means, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, no, since you brought it up, the first time when I wrote my first book about UFOs over Washington, D.C., and I was just promoting myself. And I talked to her for about an hour straight. And, because she had never heard this before, she didn't know who I was. And it sounded like too far out, even for them. So I had to basically take her hand and walk her through all the things that had happened, including the black helicopter picture I sent you. That's no BS. I don't wear a tinfoil hat, but yes, I've seen a black helicopter because it came directly to my house when I published pictures of UFOs landing on the Capitol building. Okay, so that does happen, ladies and gentlemen. It does. Not a figment of imagination. Anyway,
so you got your confirmation.
I did get confirmation, and ultimately, I remember George was, oh man, the guy was like right on the razor's edge. He was about to break down, naturally, and I felt terrible for him. But at one point, I'm laying it out there about these Archon, parasite, whatever, the spiel. And he said, Robert, that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. And I said, George, you realize that this is actually a very positive thing, that we're finally able to talk about this?
Recognition, yeah.
And George Norrie's heard a lot of scary stuff.
Oh, I know. Well, I think he says that a lot, but that's what he said to me. And I could really feel the energy from him was like.
Yeah, and it's so weird, Robert, because I hear people say, "Oh, George Norrie, he's like he's snorry, he's not connected." Every time I'm on there, dude, he is on point. He's pushing me, he's probing me. He's
yep.
All these, Lisa says, "Send me 10 questions." He's never asked one of those. Okay, I think George is the best in the world at what he does. I'll go on record for saying it.
Okay, since you brought it up, because I know there's a lot of there's weird stuff that goes on behind the scenes in these radio programs. But Robin Falkoff, who's now passed away, Richard Hoagland's wife, she was really close with George. And as I got to know Robin better, she says, George really likes you. And I said, why do you say that? She goes, because he was texting me when you guys were doing it. I've known him for years, we talk all the time. And sometimes he's a little bored with the guests and the topic. I said, well, I could totally relate. Because 5 days a week doing that and cycling through the same thing, and it's just
for decades. Yeah,
it's just a job. But for whatever reason, people like yourself, myself, or a handful of others, he really gets engaged because now he's interested.
Okay, hand heart for Coast to Coast and George Norrie. We can move on now.
Thanks, guys.
Can one of you guys get me on there just once? I mean, just one time.
You need a book, and you got plenty of those right there. So it'd be good. You should be good.
He should put me on there. Jeff, I expect you to get me on there. But there's been a lot of questions actually in the thing for Robert. I just want to repeat a couple of them.
Please, they're great questions.
When you said, when you put it out there, right? And I think people need to realize, all of us, that when you say what you say, whether it's, benevolent galactic aliens or really just the Holy Spirit itself, when you're devotional and you do ask for help and you actually do the things that are necessary. So to speak, tend the garden, do the work, you will get help. I mean, no one is immune to it unless you're like, eating children. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you ask for help can be given to you.
Yeah, obviously. And so people have asked me, why do they care about us? Well, because we're family.
Exactly.
And they know that we're ill, that we've been suffering. And, they also made it really clear to me that they wanted to prepare me that went back to the whole thing about some people being in prison too long. They're going to choose to stay in prison.
Yeah.
And that you cannot violate their free will as much as you care and love them.
Yeah.
That's their choice. Mm-hmm. So
Rachel Ferris switching timelines. A lot of people doing this stuff, Robert.
Who?
Rachel Ferris in the chat room says you shifting timelines, she'll lose something. Look, it's not there. She comes back. It is there. I mean,
okay.
It's weird, man. Do you ever have that happen to you?
Yeah. It's called going out of phase.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a real thing. That is an absolutely real thing. And if you could add a device like a time machine, it would go out of phase. And yeah, you'd be, because there's a bunch of different timelines that are basically there. It's sort of like gears in a transmission. You can shift gears. There's a lot of things that we can do that are being blocked right now. And all
Robert,
that is going to come down. All the firewalls that have been erected are going to come down. The whole house of cards.
So two questions
Boom.
with that.
Yeah.
A bunch of people have asked, because when I asked you, to focus on how much time do we have left, they're saying, get Robert to give us a definitive timeline.
Yeah, right.
Before you say that,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Because I know at one time you were communicating with him. What's going on with Wes Penry?
Oh, no, I got an email from him recently. I forget what we were talking about. Not much. Let's see. Well, he wanted to know if I've been on his YouTube, and I just can't watch it because it's, I've already read his papers, and
Yeah.
that computer voice and the
Yeah,
weird
it's
graphics.
ridiculous.
Plus, a lot of people have pirated his stuff and put him on their channel, and I don't know what they're doing with it. I know what it was. Somebody claiming to be in touch with Marduk had written to me and was giving me crap about, hey, you shouldn't.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, don't talk smack about Marduk. He's a victim and he's the good guy.
Everybody's a victim today.
Yeah. So I sent it to Wes, and Wes said, "Oh my God, Robert, you get the weirdest emails anybody I know." And that's it. So we kind of left it. I invited him on my show again, and I think I'm done inviting him because he doesn't respond to that very well. And he's only been on one show that I know of, and the production quality was horrible and
Interesting.
very hard to listen to. So anyway, that's where I'm at with Wes.
Is he in the United States?
Last time I checked, he was up, he was up in Oregon,
Yeah.
but I think he's from like Sweden or Denmark or Norway or something, one of those European countries. And he does speak with an accent. I don't see why that would prohibit him from coming on.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know what the deal is, but
So as far as change then in timelines, you think everything will just be like this, like every day, weird shit going on and from all angles, but nothing like where we wake up one day and we have a 9/11 type event, in your opinion?
I can't say. I really don't know exactly. Other than the fact that as the House of Cards comes down, it's going to seem really, really scary to a lot of people that are still connected to this false matrix.
See, that's what I agree 100%. Like I think of my family, I think of people that are not really where they quote unquote, how do I say this, need to be.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, they just choose to be in the money magic system, the material reality, the matter realm.
Yes.
Those people for sure, in my opinion, are going to wake up one day and all hell is going to be breaking loose.
Yeah, because the level of dissonance is so high.
Right.
It makes it really difficult to get up to a state of resonance. Now, I think that's what some people are calling ascension.
Right.
Process in 5D. Okay.
By the way, I think of most of that, and I read an amazing woman, and I can't think of her name right now. She wrote something and she showed it in the Decoders of Truth last night, and I tagged a bunch of the moderators to make sure they read it.
Yeah.
But she says that, and obviously all three of us saw it, right? But she says that the conscious community has been completely and totally hijacked at this point. And all of that 5D ascensional stuff is literally nonsense. Now, again, I don't know if it is, but she wrote a really good thing because, as you know, and Jeff knows this, and Robert, you've talked about this, but there's so many people channeling now.
Right.
And it's like channeling. I mean, that's the first thing that Dr. Jacob says, that you should never listen to anyone from an astral or unseen realm, because how do you know they're actually benevolent?
Yes. Yeah. And typically they know what you're thinking or feeling, and they're going to just tell you what you want to hear and lead you down a straight path. Right. It's a real problem. I know. Some guy, if you've read the, what's the one, Urantia papers.
Yeah, the Urantia papers.
Some people
I actually had a booth at Contact in the Desert.
I have tried to read the Urantia book.
It's worse than the Book of Mormon, actually.
It's so funny, Robert. I swear to you, I was just thinking in my mind, it's as bad as the Book of Mormon. I tried to read the Book of Mormon too. Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
No. Well, I mean, at least the Book of Mormon is a little bit entertaining.
Oh God. I mean, Doctrine and Covenants, Pearl of Great Price, those I could read. Book of Mormon, there's just no way.
Yeah.
A Rancher book, I'm sorry. I've started in the middle. I've gone to the back. I started at the beginning.
Well,
it's like trying to suck cement through a straw.
But the point is, for people who don't know, it's
paper straw.
It's channel material from a while back.
Oh, the Urantia book is channeled?
Yeah, the guy was supposedly he was doing what, laughing gas?
Well, no wonder.
That's her talk's book. The Keys of Enoch is the same thing. And I read 390 pages of it. As I told you guys both, it's so patriarchal. The Lord.
Yeah.
It's just instant. You get to that point now, and you recognize that we know where it's coming from.
Yeah, but okay. So I was on a show recently. Some guy was promoting it for whatever, and he was talking to me about it. And I thought back on it, and I remember this is Luciferian. It's more PR. It's like, hey, he's really a good guy. And yeah, well, maybe he was, but I mean, at this point, I don't think so. And neither is his son Marduk, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Somebody said the Matrix should be called the Patrix because it's patriarchal.
Right. Well, how about just the site, though? How about the site, the Luciferianism site? You sent it to me.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's right.
Like, wow.
Yeah, we were kind of gassing on those guys, but that's not funny actually, because they really believe.
It's not funny. It's not. They're
and actually, the first time. Sorry, Jay. The first time Jeff and I spoke about the horrific blood sacrifice in what they call Sin City, Las Vegas. Yeah. There was a thing I found there about posted on the internet that the Satanists go there to that Black Pyramid specifically, and they have their own festival. I think it's before Christmas Eve or around Christmas Eve or something like that. And they just do all this debauchery, it's the full hedonistic kind of, we're Luciferians and we're proud,
That's funny. A patriot. Anyway. Yeah. And it's funny that they would go there and just amazing stuff. It really is.
You can't make that up.
You can't make that up. And it's funny. I don't know if you've read, do you guys remember that book about the war in heaven? And the guy that wrote that says that the benevolent people that are working for us are in downtown Vegas and malevolent ones are on the strip. Do you remember that?
No.
I vaguely remember that. Who wrote that book?
I can't remember. It was called The War in Heaven. And I went all the way through it on my channel. And then I started thinking, wow, should I have gone all the way through that? But it's just interesting that Vegas, you get a lot of these. And I've been told there's a vortex north of the Cosmo Hotel out in the desert there in Vegas.
I wouldn't be surprised. Allegedly, L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons opened a vortex out there. What is now Area 51? That's the rumor, anyway.
I thought it was at the Devil's Canyon or there in not too far from you guys. Is where they opened it up.
Well, I'm sure he was doing rituals near what is now JPL.
Yes,
but the rumors are that he went out there, or they went out there to Area 51 and opened a portal and allowed a lot of these dark entities in.
Well, I mean,
interestingly enough, 9 months before Hillary Clinton was born. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yep.
Literally.
Well, Jeff, what was that thing we were reading where they were all born right next to each other? Clinton, Hillary, and Bill were both born. So was John McCain. They were all born like right in that same vicinity, like from 43 to 46.
Oh, in the time frame, yeah.
And this happened about a few months before Roswell too, and they swore that a ship came through. Both Parsons and Hubbard swore a ship came through.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So did Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard initiate the UFO era into our modern times?
Well, did they? I think the better question is, did they open the doorway for dark entities? And who was before them was Aleister Crowley.
Right. And I'm sure you know this, Robert. Crowley and Parsons were very, very tight. Yeah. Right. Hubbard and Crowley never met, but
no.
Because Crowley or Parsons was the U.S. rep for Crowley, so to speak, and then he and L. Ron got ingratiated with each other, did a bunch of sex magic, and
all those things on the internet. I know you guys have seen
and then L. Ron runs off with Parsons' wife, and what are friends
you guys have seen the and Crowley and Winston Churchill, right? Like the videos of like how similar they
were. Yeah. Well, it's true. They're all working together. They're all little. Pawns of the archon. The other thing was weird about Crowley came to Pasadena.
I did not know that.
Yes, he did. And they set up what is his face? Parson was not the only one. What they call it, the Thelma something or other.
Thelema, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And the reason I know this is because I was looking into all this weird dark stuff that goes on in Malibu, and I came across one little section of some website said that Aleister Crowley, his wishes were to have his ashes buried in Malibu, but they magically disappeared before that could happen.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Is there a power and a resonance in Malibu, Robert?
A dissonance, yeah.
A dissonance. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. There's a dissonance in Malibu, the most beautiful place.
Well, but looks can be very deceiving. And so, because most people can't see the dissonance, they can feel it. Well, they could see the carnage that comes from the dissonant energy that drives people to suicide or other really horrible problems there. I mean, just like I don't even want to get into it again. I've already told you guys I even feel bad bringing it up because it's like bursting the bubble of the illusion that Malibu is some beautiful place you want to hang out in, but it's a very, very dangerous place.
Really? Spiritually speaking?
Physically too. Physically too. I mean, look, here's the weird thing. I'll give you an example. Everybody knows about Bruce Jenner, right? But shortly before he allegedly altered it, became a woman.
Allegedly.
Caitlin.
Right. He killed a woman. On the Pacific Coast Highway.
No, that's not allegedly. That's absolutely a fact.
Oh, they in a car wreck, right?
Yeah, I didn't say he allegedly killed. No, I said he killed a woman.
Yeah. I was actually on PCH the day that happened. I was in the traffic jam.
It was horrible. It was.
Robert, are you saying that he subconsciously tried to take the place of that woman?
Well, no, he didn't, but he made a deal. I'm sure he made some sort of deal with these demons that are there. They're very prevalent.
We'll get you off if you become a girl.
I totally forgot about that, Robert. You're right. He's still a man.
Dude, that's fascinating.
He was suicidal. He was feeling suicidal about the whole process. Like we know other people go down that path and they start feeling suicidal. Well, the voices were telling him to do something, and they distracted him long enough that he smashed into this car and killed a woman. And so there was a blood sacrifice in order for that particular ritual, whatever. And the reason I bring it up is because it affects a lot of people. And by the way, so many people have died on that Pacific Coast Highway. They call that Blood Alley.
Yeah.
Because it is so freaking dangerous. I've had a couple of wrecks there. I almost died there with my uncle who's passed away just last year. He was a Air Force fighter pilot back in World War II. So, the reason I'm telling you that is because he had extremely good pilot reflex.
Absolutely.
So I think we were in something like a T-Bird or something like that, Camaro, something. We were coming down down at Point Doom, naturally, Doom. We were doomed for destruction. We're coming down this hill going about 70 miles an hour at night. There's no street lights. And there was a couple in a Volkswagen Beetle going up the hill as we were coming down. Well, we didn't know that at the time what had happened because we were coming screaming down the hill. They're coming up. Their Volkswagen dies. The lights shut off.
Wow.
And they're in now there was no traffic back then. It was back in the 70s or early. Yeah, it would have been in the early 70s. The driver cut the wheel thinking he was going to pull onto the shoulder, and he accidentally, now because the voices were telling him, cut the wheel, cuts the wheel, goes right in front of us. Totally dark, right? My uncle, total reflex, didn't have a second to think. He saw the shadow coming at him and he turned the car, and we literally, like James Bond, went up.
Missed it.
Up around the car that fast, and then pulled over, stopped, and went and helped them. We would have been, all of us would have been killed. Believe me, we would have been dead.
Robert, is there a crossroads there?
Yeah, that would have been, Bonsall Canyon and PCH. And I remember this because
I'm thinking Crossroads Demons.
Oh, I see what you're saying. What do you mean, a road named Crossroad? Or are you just saying there was
a crossroad? The whole idea of a crossroad demon. Obviously, there's something there that's causing all these wrecks.
Yeah, but I mean, it's along the whole. It's the whole stretch.
It's so interesting. And I used to do stand up for a while, and I used to have this joke that was hilariously funny. But now I'm like It's because I used to say this is when Bruce became Caitlin. Everybody has all these questions about Bruce, Caitlin, why? And I would say my only question is, will the suicide note be signed Bruce or Caitlin?
Oh, wow.
And now you tell me that he was suicidal. So, wow.
No, that's not a theory. That was actually published. And then, of course, he bought himself after he became a woman, he bought himself a new house outside of the Kardashian compound there near Pepperdine University. He moved up where I have had all those UFO experiences in that region of the mountain there, and his house burned down in the last fire. So, yeah.
Wow. There is much more than we know about this story. Robert Stanley, you never failed to fascinate me. Even over Mexican food, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't pick a very good place for us to eat. Actually, I think looking back on it, that place has gone downhill, but it was great meeting all you guys.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I didn't complain. It was fine.
All right. Yeah, I know, but it was, well, anyway.
Star of the show was Alexandra.
Yeah, no kidding. She is awesome.
She was
wow. Just when you think you know everything, you get Robert Stanley on, and we learn all this stuff about Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner, and he was married to Linda Thompson, who was Elvis's girlfriend.
Yeah, she was very pretty.
You're right, Robert.
Linda was a great person. She's the only reason Elvis wasn't dead a lot sooner.
I completely forgot though that he was a man still, and then all of a sudden he got out of that and then became a woman.
He was yeah. Before he actually made the transition, he did that.
Does Caitlyn still eat Wheaties?
I don't know. I don't know what.
Crazy, man. So do you think that the what's the name? The Armenian. What's the so that family? Yeah. But the family, that was the father was the guy that represented OJ, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The lawyer. Yeah.
He had a lot of lawyers. Which one was?
Yeah, but one of them was Kardashian.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. Kardashian represented.
That was his wife, right? Before.
It was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing about Hollywood. I know, but that's why I say everything about Hollywood is very. I mean, it's all based on Luciferian.
Right. The whole entire thing.
And it gets weirder because Chris dated OJ.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Nope. It's an interesting place, Southern California.
Okay, so I don't know if I told you, but when I first landed here on April 1st, I was down at LAX and I was, trying to get some rest before we drive from the beach down to the desert here in Palm Springs. And I'm reading the news through my device. And here's a story about a guy I grew up with, Steve McQueen's son. It's in the Hollywood Reporter. Now, this doesn't happen every day, okay? I mean, Hollywood news, whatever. But for it to be somebody I grew up with, and I'm looking at this and I'm reading about his son, Chad, is suing some guy for making sweaters that say Steve McQueen on it, whatever. All right, so no big deal. But that got me thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to Palm Springs tomorrow. Wouldn't that be weird as hell is if I ran into Chad? Because I know he lives out here. In
no way.
Yeah, I found it out. It's whatever. We're not that close, but we kind of bumped into each other a lot growing up in the same town. And we had, some mutual friends and we love motorcycles and whatever. So when I get to the house here in Palm Springs, that poster, and there's another book behind it of photographs of Steve McQueen I've never seen before. That poster was sitting in the garage. And I'm like, holy crap. I said to my wife, didn't I tell you last night about his son? And I said, what are the odds that is going to be in the garage? Well, now it's sitting there. So I put it up in the room because, Steve played a role in my life, kind of weird, but I had a lucid dream where he was in my room. I woke up in my dream and he was standing there. I'm like, holy shit, what are you doing in here? And he was just giving me the vibe like Steve, Mr. Cool. But just these penetrating eyes. And I'm like, man, you fooled everybody. They think you're dead. I mean, because you look so alive. That's what I was thinking. I said, and then I said to him, hey, did you want to come on my show? And I mean, I don't know what else to say to the guy because,
why wouldn't you? He could have said yes.
Well, he ended up, that's what I'm saying though. He ended up becoming like, I realized something that as I talked about him on this one particular episode after I moved here and I put that up, we were doing some video. We were trying to incorporate video into the radio broadcast like you guys do. And I was talking about it and I actually came across this article and it said that towards the end of his life, as he was dying of cancer, that he became a born again Christian.
No way.
This was right in the same area. He wasn't in Malibu anymore, but he was right. He actually went to a church down the street from where my mom's living right now, and spoke to the pastor, and ultimately made the decision that he was going to be a Christian. And that, basically that was it with Hollywood. He knew that that was kind of incompatible to be a Christian or Christian ideals anyway, and be part of the Hollywood scene at the same time. It's like oil and water, doesn't mix. So he definitely has some change of heart or something in his soul, in a very strange way. I feel like that he is still connected, not just to me, but a lot of us. We don't always recognize it, but I do think he wanted to do something. If he'd lived longer, he would have done something that was completely different from his Hollywood image.
Same thing with Elvis Presley. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Actually, Elvis was a friend of my grandfather.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. So he definitely had a whole spiritual side to him, and he was looking for answers. And
we both know Larry Geller, right? Didn't we talk about this?
Larry Geller. Yeah, that was right. He was, It's a small world, especially.
It's a super small world. Rachel Ferris, who's had let me just throw this in real quick. Just a quick reaction. Rachel Ferris, who had a top 40 hit, says that Lucifer runs a music business. Up or down on that?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, well, of course. Why wouldn't he? And look, it's not like he administrates all this stuff. It's like being the president of a country. You don't push all the buttons.
Minions.
Yourself. Yes, you have to delegate. You have to delegate.
You mean like the Pope being president of a country?
Something like that.
King of a country?
Well, he's the king of the world, I thought.
That's true, but at least Vatican City for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's nothing. That's just
a sovereign nation.
That's a facade. I mean, they're basically everybody who's Catholic around the world is considered a citizen of that domain.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why Kennedy being elected president was such a big deal. Is he going to be faithful to the U.S. or is he going to be faithful to the Pope?
Well, I don't know who he was faithful to. Obviously not his wife.
Not to Jackie. I was just waiting for you to take a breath, Robert. You beat me to
it.
I
guess I blew that other line the other day when you set me up. So.
Oh man, what else you got, Jay?
I mean, we pretty much covered everything. I mean, we didn't go very, very deep on Apple. I mean, I think the answer, or where I kind of wanted to go with it, was just we did ask the question, if there is a force of benevolence in the technology sector. I don't think any of us have been able to really ID it yet, probably, right?
Yeah, but it's because they're not going to come forward. It's just like a conservative in Hollywood. They rarely do it. If they do, that's it. That's the kiss of death. You don't do that in that industry. I think the same thing is true for tech, especially high tech, especially stuff that's part of this so-called social media. It's all about entrapping or ensnaring us, controlling us, and spying on us. Obviously they got to spy on everybody. But the Alex Jones, he's the only guy I consider to be mainstream enough that has been actually calling these guys out, saying, I know you are taking these hallucinogens so that you can commune with these demons, these aliens. You heard him say it?
Yeah, no, he's been talking about using ayahuasca and DMT,
whatever, and LSD and whatever, and to have a direct connect with these entities who are giving them information on how to proceed and to do these dirty deeds.
Right.
I think he's right about it. The guy's got huge balls to do something to talk about it like that.
Is meditation another Hollywood agenda to tap into our spiritual realm, control and hijack us?
No.
Well, it depends. It depends what the process is. And like you and I were talking off the air, the thing about meditation is if you mean to completely blank out your consciousness, I'm not even sure that that's achievable.
Right.
I prefer to call it visualization over meditation, where you're just focused. If you can focus on, because that's usually what they say in meditation, focus on one thing to sort of drown out, that I can accept. And that's a good thing if you're going to concentrate or focus. Or visualization, I think is a better term for it. Yes, that can open.
That's exactly what I do, Robert.
That will absolutely open the door to your connectivity, increased connectivity.
Trying to achieve a completely blank mind, I wouldn't recommend that.
No, I think that's.
Well, I mean,
that's dangerous.
Yeah, Dr. Hawkins said that long meditative sessions opens the mind and the heart to astral, an entrapment or just, interference, and you don't know what's in the astral realm, but a lot of bad stuff is.
Yeah.
Yep. There are certainly things that don't have our best in mind.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great hour this has been. Robert is the editor-in-chief of Unicus Magazine. You can find his information at unicusmagazine.com.
Yeah.
Tell us about where we can find your great radio show on KGRA.
Okay, I'm on. Actually, I haven't been on live that much, but the show airs Friday and Saturday night from 7 to 9 Western, or that would be, what is that? Sorry, 10 to midnight. Is that right?
On the East, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, 10 to midnight on the East Coast. And or if, wherever you are in the world, it's pretty simple to get. You just dial it up, KGRA, or you can go to my website and click on radio. I got all the links up there. And based on the article we all looked at today about the Department of Homeland Insecurity trying to spy on everybody and get us on a list and whatever, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this.
That's what I told Jeff today. In a text
Interesting
message
point.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I just find another way to get it done.
Yeah, we'll be meeting
Right.
up.
Right.
Well,
Campbell, leave us with a closing thought.
My only question, it's not really a question, we can just kind of maybe collectively source it, is, to what you just said, with the whole thing with the real ID, with, clear and present, they're now putting us on lists. It's getting weird out there for sure. And so, for us not to be in fear, we have to continue, as you said, to be in resonance and to, do all your C's, right? Which is calm, clear, creative, and courageous. And that's how you have to live your life. And that's how you have to manifest everything that you do in serving the divine, which is serving others who are of the divine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And Robert, if you would do me a favor, could you go ahead and end this show by giving us that powerful mantra about your C's, and we'll end it with that.
Okay. You don't want the Lord's Prayer, huh?
Probably not. If you can help doing it.
Do an improved one,
No, not even that one. I would prefer yours if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not hey, look, by the way, just to be clear, I'm not a religious person. And if I do pray at all, when I do, it's just to give thanks. I'm not asking, I'm not begging for anything, because I know everything's already provided for us. We just need to recognize it, be reciprocal, show some gratitude.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yes, being calm when others are being crazy, being kind when others are being cruel, being creative when others are destructive, and being courageous when others are being scared. All that allows us to be in resonance with the cosmos.
For Robert Stanley and Jay Campbell, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.